students. Today is the second lecture of the introduction to programming. So in the previous lecture we had studied about what is programming actually, then how to approach towards programming. Then we had done little bit of study about why do we need programming, in which aspect of life or in which areas of your study you can use programming. Okay. Then we had studied about also what are the future opportunities that you get, like you can study programming and you can go to various MNC companies, the companies which like help you to build softwares. Like I had given various examples of different companies, like you have Google, you have Microsoft, you have Adobe, you have Oracle, you might have heard about Paytm, LinkedIn. So all these are different companies where you can go and like look out for a job if you are into programming. Okay, so in today's lecture we shall be studying about the basics of programming, and before that we shall have a glance of what is software. Okay, so why do we need programming? We need programming to build softwares, right? So first of all you should know what is software, the different types of software, that is the classifications, introduction to compilers and translators. So before going into programming you must know what are compilers and translators. Okay, then how do we need or how do we create a software? Okay, just an overview type of this. Then modern era softwares with examples. Okay, I shall be relating this modern era software with examples and the types of softwares, and how is it related to programming, means how programming can be used conveniently to build different kinds of softwares. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the video. So whenever we talk about softwares, so to introduce software, it is what? A set of programs combined for a specific task. Okay, so a software is the set of programs combined to do a specific task. So by the word specific task, what do you mean? Okay, so suppose I want to edit a picture. Okay, the picture is of the format JPG, suppose. Okay, so for making any changes in this JPG picture or making any changes in this, like what to say, photo, okay, what do we need? We need a certain kind of software which is designed only for a specific task, right? Which is designed only for a specific task. So what is the specific task? To edit this software. So what is the software to edit this picture? What do we need? Which software will you use? Let us, for example, say any photo editing software, for example, Adobe Photoshop, right? So for editing any picture, we use what software? For example, let us say we use Adobe Photoshop. We have various other softwares, but primarily we will talk about this. Okay. So now through Adobe Photoshop, you can do editing with pictures. You can do editing with like motion images, videos. Okay, you can edit pictures. You can like increase the brightness, decrease the brightness, increase the contrast, make adjustments with the color. So all these facilities are there in what? In one single software, right? So that is why it is said that a software is a set of programs combined for a specific task. Okay. So now let us go into the different kinds of softwares that we have. So if you briefly look at the classification of softwares, so softwares are basically classified into three types. Okay, the first is system software, the second is application software, then comes utility softwares. Okay, so these are the three categories of softwares that we have. The first is system software. So system software, what is system software? For example, you have operating system, right? So this operating system, what is operating system? Basically, it is any system which is responsible for running, or it helps to with the computer's hardware. Okay, so operating system. So what is basically operating system? Operating system is such a system that helps you to like initiate the computer's hardware and perform various tasks with the help of computer's hardware. Okay, so like it is a kind of connecting link that helps you to connect the hardware and the user. Okay, so operating systems, there are various examples of operating systems. If you go through these examples, you might know that various operating systems, like we have Windows 7, 10, then we had Windows 98. Okay, now the recent versions have come up to Windows 11, then you have Android, then you have iOS, that is the Apple. Okay, so these are various kind of operating systems. Okay, so these operating systems, this Android and iOS, you find in your mobiles. Okay, and the various other Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 98, this was the earlier version actually. This was the earlier version. Now the latest version has come up to Windows 11. Okay, so these all are examples of operating system. So operating system is such a software. See, to give you a more clearer view, let us assume that this system software is just like the base. Okay, system software is just like a base on top of which this application softwares can run. So since you all know that system software is, for example, it is the operating system. Application software, for example, let us say Microsoft Office. Okay, so students, just tell me that without having an operating system, for example, without having this Windows, will you be able to install the MS Office on this platform, on this base? On this platform or base, will you be able to install the MS Office without having Windows operating system on it? Or any kind of operating system if you don't have, will you be able to install other softwares on top of it? No. For example, you might have seen, let me make it more interesting, okay? You all might have seen pizza, right? Right? So, what is the base of the pizza? There is always a base, right? There is always a base, and on top of that base, you put different toppings, right? There is a base of the pizza, and on top of that you will put the toppings. So if there is no base, where will the toppings go, right? So in a similar manner, if you don't have a platform or a base, that is the system software, so we call it the operating system. Okay, so if operating system is not there, then the application softwares, for example MS Office or maybe Adobe Reader, so these kind of softwares cannot be installed. Okay, so that is why it is very essential. It is very essential that you have a certain kind of platform or a certain kind of operating system, so that various other applications can be run with the help of a computer. Okay, now going to application softwares. Now you are familiar with these examples, right? First MS Office, Adobe Reader, various other examples are also there. Coming to application softwares, for example, you may have heard about this Tally ERP9. This is also one kind of a software which is used for accounting. Okay, so these are different examples. Now in application softwares, see, in application softwares you have these examples. Now what is an application software actually? What is an application software? An application software is such a software which is designed to perform a specific task. Okay, for example, I gave the example of MS Office. Okay, MS Office, or it has different parts, as you know. PowerPoint is there, Word is there, then Excel is there. All these are part of MS Office software only, right? So these all are designed for different purposes. For example, the Word, MS Office or MS Word, right? You all are familiar with MS Word. Now what is MS Word? It is a word processor. MS Word is a word processor. For example, in the similar way, PowerPoint. MS PowerPoint is used to create different kind of PPTs, like presentations we give. Then Excel. MS Excel is what? Spreadsheet. It is used for maintaining records in different companies. Okay. Then there is another example of application software. For example, you might have heard about Tally, right? This Tally ERP9, it is also meant for a specific purpose, that is accounting. Right? So Tally ERP9 is another software which is responsible for accounting. It is a kind of accounting software. Okay. Then let us go to some more examples. Then at the beginning of the class, I gave an example of this Adobe Photoshop. So what is Adobe Photoshop? Adobe Photoshop is also a kind of application software used for editing pictures, right? So see, when you go to the market, for example, you want a passport size photograph. So what does the person do? He clicks the photograph, he transfers that photograph to his computer, and after that he uses Adobe Photoshop to crop, maximize the brightness, minimize the brightness. All these things are done with the help of this application software, right? And after that you get your final printed photo. So this is kind of editing software. Then we go to the third part, that is utility softwares. So now utility means what? Providing services. Okay, so let us go through some examples of utility software. For example, antivirus, disk defragmenter, etc. So utility softwares. Now what is utility software? Or one more example, Windows Firewall. So utility softwares are those softwares which are helpful in providing services to the computer. Okay. For example, your antivirus. So what is the purpose of antivirus? Antivirus is such a software which helps you to protect against threats. It helps you to protect against malware. So now what is malware? Malware in other terms you may term it as virus. Okay. So if you see that a virus has entered your system, then you will use antivirus software. So it is a kind of utility software which helps you to save your computer from different kind of malicious softwares, or so as we know them as malware or virus. Okay. So antivirus, from the word it is clear that virus, antivirus. So it works against these viruses and helps you to keep your system safe. Okay. Then you have disk defragmenter. Okay. So what is disk defragmenter? You will find it in various computers. So what it does is that if you delete a file, okay, suppose disk defragmenter, okay, so this disk defragmenter is a kind of utility software. So how it works is that it helps you to free up the occupied spaces. It helps, the disk defragmenter helps you to free up the occupied memory. Okay, so a similar kind of thing can be found in mobiles also. In mobile you might have seen the app called Cleaner. Okay, so it helps you to free up the occupied memory or the means unwanted files. See, suppose you are installing a software or an application, and suppose for some reason you might have uninstalled it, then some residual files remain. Okay, so those files are being removed with the help of disk defragmenter or Cleaner. Now how it is done, how it works actually. Suppose you know that computer's memory is made up of blocks, right? It is made up of various blocks. So suppose let's say each block is of 2 bytes. So how many blocks are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. 12 into 2, 24 bytes. Okay. So in computer's memory, the files may be stored in various memory locations. Okay. For example, these are some occupied files. Okay. Let us assume that these are some occupied files. Now when we delete certain things, suppose you are deleting some file, text file, or maybe photos, JPG in the JPG format, right? So these does not get deleted one by one. It may get deleted from here. Okay, it may get deleted from here. Now suppose how much memory is there? 7. Means 14 bytes is still left. Okay, now 14 bytes is still left. But there is a catch. That suppose I have a file of, suppose let's say 8 bytes. I have a file which is of 8 bytes. Or let's say 12 bytes. So can I store it? Yeah, I can store it, but this should be as a whole. Means 12 bytes should be like this. Like this. 12 bytes should be like this. Means it should be available like this. But is it there here? Can you see this 12 bytes here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but it is not contiguous. See, if this block would have been free, then we could have placed this 12 bytes file here. It is not there. So what this defragmenter does, it helps you to bind them together, or maybe reallocate the memory locations so that space is being freed up. So now see, now since this space is free, we can place this file over here, isn't it? It can be occupied over here, right? So this is the purpose of, or this is the working of this defragmenter. Okay, and similarly the cleaner. See, both work in almost the same ways. Both the cleaner app, which is available in mobiles, and the disk defragmenter also works in the similar manner. So both have the same purpose, almost the same purpose, that is they help to clean your memory spaces in your computer as well as your PC. Okay. Now, apart from these three kinds of softwares, we have again a categorization of two things. Okay, one is general purpose and another is specific softwares. Okay, so let me give you an example. For example, some general purpose softwares. Some general purpose softwares include MS Office, then Adobe, Photoshop, Tally, ERP9. But when we talk about specific softwares, we have, for example, a hotel management system, similarly a library management system. So all these are specific softwares. Okay, so what is the difference between that? Let us see. So in MS Office, Adobe Photoshop or Tally ERP9, so what happens is that these are general purpose, means every person in the world or every person remaining in India, so all those can use this, and they are made in such a way that you do not need any prior training. Any person who has little bit of computer knowledge can use these softwares. Okay, and one more thing, that many extra features are also available in these softwares which are not there in specific softwares. Okay, so now what are specific softwares? Specific softwares are those softwares which are having only particular feature which the user wants. Okay, suppose hotel management system. So I will include only those modules which I want, or those features only, only those features which are required. I will put them here in this hotel management system. In the library management system, whatever features I need as a user, I will fix them only. I will not put any extra features in over here, making it very big. Okay, so generally you will see that specific softwares are made or customized by some developers. What they do, they make the software and sell them in person. Okay, but these, on the other hand, on the contrary, these softwares are available worldwide. Okay, you don't have to pay for them. Generally, they are available for free only, right? So this is the difference between general purpose and specific softwares. Now, how is programming related to this? See, first of all, you must know a part of this system software. So we already have studied about the operating system. Okay, then you have language translators. Now what are language translators? They are compilers or interpreters. Okay, compilers and interpreters. Okay, in the system software you have two parts: operating system, which I have already explained, and language translators, that is compilers and interpreters. Now what is the functionality of these two? Okay, let us see that. See, any code that you write, suppose this is a piece of code, okay? Any code that you write, it is obviously written in some language, using some language, right? It may be written using C, C++, Java, etc. Now, as I have already told that computer only understands two things, right? Zeros and ones, that is binary. So you have to convert this piece of code written in some high level language to the binary form. So who does this? Who is doing this thing? Here comes the role of compilers or they basically do the same thing, but there is a slight catch and a slight difference in between them. Okay, so you give this high level language, the compiler or interpreter, what it does, it converts it into the form of zeros and ones. Okay, just an overview. For a simple understanding, it converts it into zeros and ones. Why? So that it can be understood by the machine. Okay, since machine understands only zeros and ones in binary form, so what compilers or interpreters do, they check your code and lastly they convert your code so that it can be understood by the machine. Okay. Now what is the difference between these two? Compilers and interpreters, obviously they are not the same thing, right? So what is the difference between compiler and interpreter? The difference between them is that, suppose this is a piece of code, okay? This is a piece of code, any XYZ program, any XYZ program, okay? So any XYZ program if you give it to the compiler, what it will do, it will check whole of the code at once and then it will give errors, okay? It will check whole of the code at once and then it will give errors if there are any, if any, okay? But what the interpreter does, is that it will check the code line by line, okay? Suppose this is one line, it is okay. This is another line, this is okay. This is another line, this is okay. This is a line where you have got any error, okay? So it will not read any further, but from this point itself, it will show the errors if there are any, okay? And after that, again you have to recompile it. Getting my point? So this is the difference. So compiler, what it does is that it checks all the lines at once and gives an error, and interpreter, what it does, it will check line by line and then give you an error in the code. Okay, so this thing is very essential in terms of programming. So when you are going into programming, okay, so you must first know the overview that, okay, how does this code work? How does the computer understand this piece of code which I have written? Because this is written using some language, right? C, C++ or Java or Python. So computer doesn't understand these kind of languages. It understands only binary. So there is the role of compiler and interpreter. Okay. Now next thing, how do we create a software? So for creation of a software, as I told you in the last class, that what we need, we write different programs. Suppose this is a program, this is module 1. Okay, this is module 1. Again you have written another set of programs. This is module 2. Then another set of programs. This is, for example, module 3. So combining all of them all together, if you combine all of them all together, then what you get? You get a package, or this is called a software package or software. Okay. So for developing any software, what do we need? We need some platform on which we can code. After that, what you will do? You will combine all these modules all together in a single package using some softwares again, and lastly you can develop your own software. It is not that hard, but in basic you need to know how to write codes in using different languages. And yeah, one more thing is very essential. You have to know about coding, as well as you have to have a little bit of knowledge about database. Okay, so for those students who don't have any basic idea about what is a database, you can refer to my next lecture. Okay, so in the next video we shall be discussing about what is database, how important it is, what is the connectivity of database with the software or maybe any web page. Okay, why it is essential to have a very deep understanding and deep knowledge about database, because without database you cannot keep your records. Okay, it is simply building a software is not enough. You have to maintain some records, right? So where will the records be kept? In databases. Okay, so in the next video or lecture we shall be discussing about databases in a brief manner. Okay, thank you.